Well, today's message is going to be a bit shorter than usual, but hopefully you're not here or listening elsewhere just to hear me talk. Hopefully you're listening for a voice that is much, much greater than mine. Now, I can take a really long time to say something not very well, but he can speak all truth perfectly in the blink of an eye. So my job today is just to help point you to him, to help encourage you to incline your ear to his voice, and then he will do the speaking to you in his perfect way. Amen. Let's start off with a quick question that I'd like for us to ponder today. And that is this: why do you do what you do? Or you could also say, why do you not do what you do not do? Do you go to church because it's what's expected of someone who labels themselves Christian? Do you not get drunk and not sleep around because you're afraid you'll go to hell if you do? Or maybe you'll just have a bad reputation. Do you hold on to your mind's conclusions and beliefs because you're afraid that you'll end up making God angry if your mind gets it wrong? Or you won't be saved if your logical conclusions aren't just right? Do you pray because you think that you have to? Or perhaps to boost your feelings that you are a good Christian? Maybe that's why you pray and have devotions. Now, hey, if you don't do horrible things because of fear, at least you're not doing horrible things, right? But that is just the beginning of wisdom. And that reveals to you the general direction of your focus. Is it faith or is it fear? Fear regrets the past and worries about the future. Faith, which is love, keeps no account of wrongs suffered by others or by the self, and it is grounded in the eternal presence of God in which they rest today. Now, fear avoids doing things that it's afraid would offend God or merit his wrath or judgment. Faith dwells in the presence of God and does or doesn't do what flows right now out of spirit. Fear manifests or falsely disguises itself as righteous indignation, spiritual discernment, biblical enlightenment, absolute holiness, spiritual devotion, insistence on others accepting certain doctrines, refusal to openly consider other points of view, and so on. Now, faith, on the other hand, produces the fruit of kindness and mercy, the right action right now for the simple sake of doing it. A peace and a rest that come from accepting that I could be wrong, but it doesn't depend on my mind's being right. And a full reliance upon the finished work of Christ, or what that boils down to, the incredible, immeasurable, unfathomable, unshakable, everlasting love of God. Now, the fallen human mind is constantly fighting against the devil, as though the devil is afraid of the flesh or the mind. Fighting against the evil in the world, as though abusing itself by its reaction to the stories of the world will somehow change them for the better. Fearing full surrender and acceptance of what is, lest by not being constantly at war on the inside, you will promote or engage in horribly despicable deeds. And you know, that's what the English translation of Genesis calls the knowledge of good and evil. In the day that you eat thereof, you will be like God, knowing good and evil. Now, to whom do you suppose the serpent was speaking? It would seem as though he was speaking to the mind. As Jesus said, the Spirit's will is righteousness, but the flesh's nature is weakness. You will be like God, knowing good and evil. And ever since that time, the human mind has been fighting over what is right and what is wrong, what it thinks is right and what it judges is wrong, as though it can really know anyway. And in being exalted to the level of judge of morality, the mind becomes effectively our God. And you know, as Jesus said, you cannot serve two masters, not really. Does the mind direct you? Or are you directed by spirit? Now, of course, the mind's going to jump in and immediately say, well, I'm led by spirit. Of course it's the spirit. And you can hear that, hear the mind saying that, and you can just let the mind be. You recognize it as being what it is, the mind. Don't have to label it good or bad, it just is. It's not you. And it's not God, no matter how loudly and convincingly it insists that it is. Now, Ephesians chapter 2 and verse 6 says that we are seated with Christ in heavenly places. Or you could put it like this: you are resting with Christ in the realms of glory. Seated, resting, not fighting, not struggling, not at war, but at peace, in stillness, in inner quietude. And where? Well, maybe it doesn't feel peaceful and quiet to you. Not if your awareness is trapped in the mind. But if you recognize that's where you are right now, and you realize that's not you, and you fully surrender to what is right now, even if action is required to bring about some kind of change, and you stop inwardly fighting, then you just might find that place of rest. As you enter the realms of glory where you are seated with Him, far above all principalities and powers, all kingdoms and rulers, all wars and dominions, all drama, and inner suffering. All of those things come, and all of those things go. They are all for a short season, like a vapor that appears for an instant and then vanishes away. When you are lost in and identified with that which is fleeting, you cannot help living in some level of fear, no matter how well disguised it might be. But when you dwell in the place of perfect peace and rest, watching the clouds, the vapors roll by, doing what is right now, always just right now, rooted and grounded in the eternal present moment, then you will live by faith or love, not fear, for perfect love dispels all fear. And with pure love in His realm of glory, we are perfectly and eternally at rest.